You're out in the field doing a Parks on the Air activation. You're having the time of your life. You've got an almost non-stop pile up. You're working stations one after the other all over the country and the world. And you think, man, this couldn't be any better. But you know, you can add a couple of accessories to your setup that'll make things a lot more fun as well as easier for you. Let's check them out next on AA3K On The Go. So it was 2020, the year that wasn't. I saw a spot on the spotting network with a comment of POTA and was wondering what that stood for. Did a quick Google, found out Parks on the Air. And let's just say I was instantly hooked. So I started chasing Parks on the Air stations from home. As I had a lot of equipment already together for portable amateur radio while camping, I was pretty much set to go except for maybe a battery. I've learned to apply quite a few of the things I've learned from contesting to my Parks on the Air activations, and they make things a lot easier and a lot more satisfying to operate. And I'm going to go over some of those things with you so you too can think about adding them to your Parks on the Air setup and experience a lot more fun in your outdoor amateur radio adventures. Now, I'm not going to be covering anything about radios, antennas, or power supply because they're basic. You need them for any operation in the field. I will only be covering several accessories that make things a lot easier for you. Let's take a look at those accessories now. Now, the first two things that I consider really great for outdoor ham radio adventures in radios such as the 7300, 705, FTX1, most of the rest, if not all, of the current Yaesu line that are about this size that you can take into the field. And really, any radio made really since the Kenwood TS850 back in the mid to late 1990s is built-in voice and CW memories, where you can record a message, set it to play, and in particular set it to repeat on a periodic basis, which is extremely handy for voice and Morse code CQ messages. Because I have been in the situation in the field with a Parks on the Air activation where really bad band conditions that I had to send a lot of CQs. Now, even smaller radios like the True SDX, the QRP Labs QMX, and QCX line do have at least CW memory built into them. When I first started doing Parks on the Air, I was using my ICOM 706 Mark II-G, which was an excellent radio for its early 2000s introduction and such, but it does not have built-in voice and CW memory keying. When I wanted to do that with this radio, I needed to use a RigBlaster interface, and you can see I have notes on here on how this is configured. But this allowed me, through the computer in the logging program, to send CQs, exchange messages, particularly in contests and such, and really helped it. Similarly, if the radio does not have built-in memory for CW keying, you can use an external device such as a WinKeyer here, or I actually still use it with the 7300, even though it does have the memories and can take text and actually create the CW directly from it. But as far as you know, there is only one logging program to support that. So if I'm doing CW in the field with the 7300, I typically use this Mortty V4, very compact size. It uses the same command set as a WinKeyer and will take text and generate perfect CW from that. Now, I prefer to use one of these to generate CW instead of having the computer itself generate it, which N3FJP, AC log, which is what I typically use in the field for Parks on the Air, DX Lab Suite. I've also used N1MM. But I have all three of those programs talk to this and send the CW through this. And in all the programs, you can set it up to take the call sign that you entered, automatically reply with it, take the signal report that you enter, reply with that and your state, and then you just have to receive the information from the other station, type it into the log, thank you, and move on. Again, I'll leave a link to this and this and any other devices I can find. The version 4, which is a very convenient size, has been surpassed by the version 5, which has a number of new features in it, which are really nice, but it does make for a bigger package and potentially more complexity than you typically need. For radios that do not have any sort of built-in memory, like the good old 817/18 line, which are excellent QRP radios, I did buy and put together a voice recorder microphone that just has one memory in it, and it was created by Delta Hotel 8 Bravo Quebec Alpha. This is primarily sold to be wired with the FT817, 818 line. It supports one memory, and I've used this a few times in the field, though when doing QRP, I'm usually using CW as it gets through better. Now, these microphones can also be wired for ICOM. The instructions are not necessarily clear. A couple of wiring changes on the circuit board in here, and I think you have to wire up the connection for the radio, as ICOM and Yaesu do not use the same pin order for their signals, and I think in that case you really need to refer back to the ICOM documentation to create that. For the 817, I have this little CW memory keyer. It was sold by Electra Resales on eBay. The last time I checked, which was several months ago, they had one left in stock. I do not know if they're getting more, but this is based on a design by an Italian ham. So if you look around eBay and maybe Amazon, you can find something similar. Very handy for calling CQ over and over and over in CW. And actually has two memories you can put in an exchange report. If you're working somebody in their 599 and you're Pennsylvania, you can just put that in there, quickly send it, and finish out any typing and log entry that you need to do. Again, saves me having to send CQ over and over, and the longer I go on CQ, the sloppier I get. Now, at least the ICOMs, probably the Asus too. I don't have any of the Asus, so I can't tell you. They do accept commands over their computer control interface that will let you trigger the memories and send them from your keyboard on the computer. You just have to either have that, it's either built into the logging program or you can add it. And I know AC Log definitely includes notes showing you how to do that, not only online, but actually built into the program. Another key thing I find very handy when doing voice operations, in the field, contesting, is a headset mic. This lets me put the microphone right at my mouth and free up both my hands to type the call sign in and any other information as it's coming in. As I've taught myself many years ago to touch type, I don't even need to look at the keyboard to do so, rather than trying to hold a mic and type the keys out for a call sign. Now, I have done that once or twice on a dual activation where it's more convenient to pass a physical microphone back and forth between myself and the other operator. But this, does make life, and even when I'm contesting, I will always use a headset mic. Now, when I'm in the field, I prefer a single-sided headset. This lets me keep one ear open just to be aware of my environment around me. Always a handy thing to do. Now, for keying the rig to transmit for voice, you can use Vox, and that works. That's worked mostly well for me. You do get the Vox delay that can chop off somebody trying to reply to your calling them as such. And I've had to ask people, just hold on half a second, I'm using Vox. But I actually prefer to use a Footswitch, and I do carry a small piece of plywood with me, so I have something to put on uneven ground underneath the thing, and I use this to key the radio. Now, connecting that, at least through this headset with the Heil adapter, this particular jack here is not for a headphone connection, it's for a Footswitch connection. When I've operated from inside my vehicle, it's usually tight enough in the footwell, kind of difficult to position this, though I have. I also came across this basically finger switch at a Hamfest, and adjust the Velcro. Actually, let me get the wire to go the other way, and just slide it on my finger, position it so I can hit it with my thumb and talk, and then I could still type with my fingers here. And I just have to use an adapter to go from the 1/8 inch to the 1/4 inch plug there, but I carry one of those all the time. I mentioned several times using a computer. I really prefer to computer log in the field. This is my $60 Jenkopotamus laptop. Unfortunately, it's, you know, when I bought this about 3 years ago, I said if I got 2 years out of this, I would be happy. Well, it's been 3 years basically, and it's still going strong. I have purchased a new 2-in-1 Dell laptop of sufficient vintage at a good price on Amazon as a refurb, and it's already come preloaded for Windows 11. I still have to finish setting it up. It's about the same size of this, a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. And I can flip it open and use it as a tablet if I want. If you are using a RigBlaster in the field, they do need to be powered by 12 or 13.8 volts or so. They do have kind of a weird connector on the back. I've never seen this elsewhere, and it's somewhat similar to a smaller laptop plug connector. What I have found, rather than having to carry the wall wart that powers this with me, West Mountain Radio, the makers of RigBlaster, does sell the power cable that ends in power poles at one end, so I can just plug it into a jumper block or into the top of the battery case that I've showed previously, and power this without having to use a separate wall wart and the extra weight of carrying one of those with me. If you're going as far to carry a laptop and use a laptop, you really should connect the laptop to the radio for computer control of the radio. Now, I have this cable made and sold by Blue Max 49ers on eBay, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. And this has the 8-pin mini DIN, which will connect to the 817, 818, possibly even their other radios and such, and give you computer control on it. And all the logging programs that support computer control will definitely interface through this. In terms of the 817, 818, I do use my RigBlaster. That gives me the same results, so I actually have not used this cable in a while. I have a similar cable that terminates in a simple phono plug for ICOMs, but when I connect my 7300 and 705 to the computer, I just use the USB cable that plugs into there, and I get not only cat control, but I can send voice audio directly to the radio here for transmission and say FT8 digital data. Really, really handy. Even the True SDX will let you do it, and it will emulate a Kenwood TS480. The QRP, QCX, QMX will do the same things. Zygu will do it with their own format and such. In terms of some comfort items, sitting more than an hour or two on some of the park benches, not only in Pennsylvania but other states, but one of these stadium seat cushions can make your bottom parts a lot more comfortable. And if the weather is cold and the bench happens to be concrete, this will give you some insulation. Speaking of concrete picnic benches, I have not run into any in Pennsylvania or the other states I've operated, but having some sort of blanket that you can put your radio equipment down to prevent scratching it is very, very handy. And I have this older, nice outdoorsy blanket I can bring. You can also, I do not have one, you can also use a very large keyboard and mouse mat that a lot of gamers use for their computers. And on Etsy, a store called Quirky QRP does sell those kinds of mats, which are customized for amateur radio, and they can even customize them for you, as I understand it. And again, I'll leave links to that, to whatever I can find in the description below. If you have a chance to bring some sort of clamp-on umbrella, if it's sunny, if you can't get under a tree or such, that's really handy, or maybe a small easy up. Obviously, it's very handy to make sure you bring some water or sports drink if the weather is really hot, maybe a snack or two to help keep yourself going. You do not want to become dehydrated while out in the field. And especially when I'm going to a park that I don't know what might be available to sit at, I carry a small table and chair. Literally, the table's only like 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet, just about big enough for the radio, and I can keep the laptop in my lap, and a small folding camp chair or maybe a beach chair. Yes, Parks on the Air is a tremendous amount of fun, especially when you're activating a park in the field. And you can make it even more exciting and exhilarating for you by looking at some of these things I suggested and putting them into practice. Do you take certain things with you when you do a Parks on the Air activation to make it more fun and exciting and easier to do? Why don't you note them in the comments below so we can continue the discussion there. And why don't you take a moment to check out the video here on using various things to make operating in the field more comfortable physically. I'll catch you the next time on AA3K On The Go 73.